Going live. Live in 5, 4, 3, 2. Oh no, we're already live. Alright. Okay. Good morning or afternoon. It's church chat time. It's church chat with Pastors Dan and Dave. Come hang out with us on our stream. It's Church Chat Wednesday.
It is Church Chat Wednesday.
That's right.
Woohoo! I am Pastor Dan.
And I'm Pastor Dave.
And we are glad that you are here with us today on another
Absolutely.
Wednesday Church Chat. I'm especially excited about our guest today. She's really cute. I might ask her out.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What will your wife think of that?
Oh,
It is my wife.
Holy moly.
Yeah, so Holly will be joining us here in just a little bit. Got James Adkins over here pushing buttons and doing things, and he is a good person, and we like him. And we are just glad that you're here with us again. We're continuing to do these. We might continue these on even after the quarantine's over.
There's some cool stuff coming down the road.
Yeah.
You know what's funny, though, is every time I ask a guest to come on here, and I say, do you have a Skype account?
Yeah.
I always get the same reaction. I think I had one
used to
12 years ago.
It's like us asking somebody for their, like, are you on MySpace?
Yeah.
AOL Instant Messenger.
Yeah.
Fun fact, I asked Holly out over AOL Instant Messenger.
Oh, yeah?
Yep, that's how I got her. I proposed in person.
Did you ever break up with somebody using
AOL? Probably. That seems like something I would have done.
Yeah, see, we didn't have that when I was in school. We had notes.
Do you have messenger pigeons? Or?
No, we just had notes, and you'd give somebody a note to give somebody a note.
Oh, right, yeah.
And there is more than once, I think, I gave a breakup note.
Ooh. Did you ever do the, do you like me, circle one, yes or no? And
Nah.
They, outlined the no with Sharpie and gave it back.
No, maybe. In grade school, probably.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So, we need some updates on some things. So, first of all, let me update a little bit on. I know some people have been asking about when churches might reopen, especially when St. Mark's might reopen. We had some information from the mayor about some recommendations. We had some things from the bishop. There's other guidelines coming from the state in the national level and all of these things. And they're all just that. They're all guidelines. I mean, technically we could legally meet Sunday, but we know that it's not probably a responsible thing to do at this point. So what we've talked about on our leadership team is that we're going to just continue through the month of May doing it this way. We're going to shoot for being back together on June 7th, but we're going to meet again before the end of May to kind of reassess the situation and see, does that make sense? Does it not? What we don't want to do is just say it's going to be this date no matter what, because we don't know what the situation's going to look like then. So our opinions will change as we get new information.
Right. And one thing that I think to remember is, because some of your neighbor churches may be opening, is, there is no one-size-fits-all plan.
Yeah.
I mean, most churches are under 50 people.
Yeah.
And so their guidelines, when you're a church of 300 or so, it's going to be totally different.
And it's different for us because we have two different settings in which we do worship on Sunday morning, and so it might look different in the sanctuary than it does in the dock. I mean, we're just going to have to kind of see what happens, but know that it's on our radar. We are hoping for it, but until then, we're going to keep doing things like this. Sunday morning worship at 10:30 from this couch, and we'll just kind of keep pushing on best we can and try to keep everybody's safety a top priority, but we do want to be back together again as soon as it's safe and we're able to do that. So that's church update, but I know what people are really wondering about are your chickens and your mustache. Which one do you want to talk about first?
Well, first I'm gonna if I cough a little, don't freak out. I have
Swear,
asthma.
if you give me the Rona, I swear.
I have asthma, and it's a bad time of year. So, so I do have a little cough. But, the mustache, we'll start there. How's that?
Okay. All right, we're going to get a zoom in on the mustache.
Okay, because you may or may not know I'm a potter, right? So an artist.
Oh,
and sometimes you just have to walk away. Like, I'm not sure where this is going, so I'm just going to leave it alone. I'm just marinate in it for a while.
Okay.
And that's where we're at.
You're marinating.
Yes, we're just going to
Get one of these?
leave it alone for a little bit.
I would say
and then we'll see.
We're all marinating in the glory of your mustache.
Excellent. And as far as chickens go, they're just chickens.
They're just chickens.
They're living the life,
fine.
man. I got some of that seed that you do that with. And you call them, and chickens running.
Yeah.
Cracks me up.
Oh, that's hilarious.
And you just do the chick chick, and they throw that out. And
How do you do it?
They come booking around the corner.
Chick
chick. And they come booking around the corner. It is the funniest thing. It looks like a toddler running because they're.
We got a bag of dried mealworms.
Oh, I got some.
Oh, they go crazy.
Mm-hmm.
They go crazy. I've tried some. They're not that great. I don't know what they see in it, but
dude, the smell on those
they
alone.
smell so bad. So, well, good. I'm glad to know that the girls are doing good.
Yeah.
Sorry again about the loss of the Spice Girls.
Yeah. They're it was me, not them.
Mm-hmm. So we have one living rabbit yet, and I don't know if she thinks she's a chicken now or if the chickens all think they're rabbits, but they are all just. It's always the chickens and the rabbit together. They follow each other around. It's so weird. I don't know.
What about at night? Because my chickens sleep in a pile.
Yeah, the chickens roost. Our rabbit hasn't started roosting yet. If it flies up to the top of a shelf, I'll be really impressed.
Me too.
Yeah, and maybe it'll start laying eggs when the chickens. And so it
Cadbury.
We
eggs,
might have the Easter bunny. I don't know.
which are my favorite, by the way.
Cadbury.
Yes.
It's your favorite kind of egg. Like, do you like it scrambled or sunny side up, and you like Cadbury?
Sure.
So, we're going to talk today a little bit about the idea of this is just one thing that I know I've been thinking about. Our leadership team was talking about this last night. What are some of the ways in which we can serve during this time? For me, that's been one of the hardest things in the midst of all of this is I think we all want to do something. We all want to be able to help each other out. We know people are going through a hard time, and so how do we serve right now? That's been a frustration for me because serving, generally you have to be around people to do that, and so it's just hard. So we're going to talk about that a little bit today, and what some of the ways are that we can serve one another, and just what that looks like. And Holly's going to be talking a little bit about some of the things that she's going to be. Well, the things she's going to be sharing, the 6K with World Vision, and so we'll talk about how you can participate in that. One of the things as I was thinking about this, I was reading through some of the book of Acts and the beginnings of the church. And I find it fascinating that they started off with, the 12, you've got the 12 apostles, and they're preaching and they're teaching, and that's about it. Until somebody notices, hey, there's some people that need help. The widows aren't being fed, and they just don't have any resources. And you guys, you have to do something about this. So the very first committee ever formed in the early church was this committee of 7 people that they called together, and it was their job to do mission work, to go and to serve others. Oh my goodness! Hang on a second. Look at this. This is service.
Too.
The Wicked Witch of the Morning.
Nice.
I like that. But yeah, so I mean, that's the very first thing they did was they said we have to find ways. So it's been a part of the DNA of the church since it started that we serve others. That's a part of what we do. And furthermore, I think how it applies to us a little bit today is that this was not a convenient time for them to do mission work. It was rough going out there for the early church. They were being persecuted. They were, chapters before that, they're being, beaten and flogged and arrested and all of these things.
Your tendency would be to hide.
Yes, absolutely.
And not put yourself out there.
Right. And one of these 7 people they put on this early committee to do this was Stephen. And in the very next chapter, he gets stoned for his beliefs and for speaking out. So, I mean, it was not a safe or convenient time for them to serve. But, again, that's a part of the DNA of the church, I think, is that we serve others even when it's not a very convenient time, and we find creative ways to do that. We find whatever ways possible to be able to serve others, even in the hardest of times.
Yeah, and I see where you're coming from. In my 20 years with St. Mark's, I've been the one primarily who's led our mission trips and that sort of thing, and I'm a first responder, and I think that's your MO too. Like something happened, boom!
What do we do? How can we help?
And so that hits you. It's like, what do you do? I don't know. But there have been some really cool things.
Yeah.
Like Kathy Newell just mentioned to me that she's still making masks. Chastity Watkins has been making masks and stuff like that. So that's neat.
The only thing I don't like about the masks is that I can't see all of your face when you're wearing one. I can't see the mustache.
Masterpiece. I know.
A
well, who was it? We had the Babcocks.
Yeah.
Asked me on Sunday to see the mask when we were doing communion.
So we're going to talk in just a little bit about some of the things the church has been doing, but I think it's about time. Let's go ahead and call up Holly, and we'll talk a little bit about what she's been doing and is going to be doing through World Vision. If you had a chance last year, we did the 6K, and we're going to be doing it again in a different way this year.
Okay.
There we go.
There she is. I hear me again. She must be watching.
Yeah, that's right.
All right. Well, hello, Holly. You look dashing today.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Hi, guys.
Hi, Holly.
So, Holly has done work through World Vision for, I don't remember how many years you've been working with World Vision, but why don't you just talk a little bit about how you got involved with them and the work World Vision does?
Yeah, so we got involved through World Vision, Dan and I, about 15 years ago. We sponsored our first child through World Vision. I was at a Women of Faith conference in Columbus, and I just remember the speaker just talking about really a practical way to invest in the life of a child and make a real world difference. And so I picked up a picture of a little girl from Mozambique, and Dan and I started sponsoring her shortly after we got married about 15 years ago. And then since then, we've sponsored more children as we've had kids of our own. We found children to sponsor who share birthdays with our own kids. So right now we sponsor 5 kids through World Vision. So they're in different countries. We have one child in the Philippines, Colombia, Zambia, Kenya, and Bangladesh. Is that 5? Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds right. So
yeah, and then a few years ago, probably, I don't know, about 8 years ago, I decided I wanted to do more. I obviously can't afford to sponsor. We can't afford to sponsor all of the kids who are living in the margins in these really difficult places around the world. And I wanted to do more. So I decided to become a World Vision Child Ambassador. And so what I do is just raise awareness, bring their stories, the stories of children all over the world who are in need of just their basic necessities being met. And so I go to churches, talk to school groups, any community organizations, things like that, just to raise awareness and bring their stories to light and how people can get involved and really make a world of difference in these children's lives.
Yeah, so talk a little bit about what it is that sponsorship does. What does it do for a child or a community?
Yeah, so sponsorship, it's $39 a month to sponsor a child, and you have access to communicate with these children through sending letters or gifts, emails, and they'll send letters back to you. And it provides for their basic necessities. So education, clean water, health, something that is a reality for many families and children all around the world. There's over 700 million kids around the world without access to clean water. And I think in the midst of a pandemic, not just here in the US, but this is a global pandemic that we're all dealing with right now. And so it's a very real problem any other time, but especially now. Clean water is a huge issue for people who are dealing with this pandemic, and they don't have access to wash their hands, to have proper sanitation. And so COVID-19 is devastating here in the US, but in countries like Africa, South Africa, Kenya, those places, it's really devastating because of the sanitation issues that's happening there. So 2 years ago, and then last year went to Kenya, got to meet a couple of our sponsored kids in person and meet their families. And I can tell you that, I'm always skeptical when I'm giving money to charity or, things like that of, is my money really going to make a difference, or what is my money being used for? And I can just tell you that it is amazing the difference that sponsorship makes, not just in the child's life that you're sponsoring, but in the entire community. These kids can go to school, they have clean water access, and healthcare and vaccines. So, in places where malaria is an issue, we see that declining. And just talking to the moms of these children who are just so thrilled and so overjoyed that someone who doesn't even know their child, someone who has no way of knowing who they are before they choose to sponsor, but because they love Jesus, because they see worth in their child, they've chosen to sponsor, and these moms are just so grateful.
Mm-hmm. And I think one of the things that World Vision's doing right now, and I think they're still doing this, is you can sponsor a child, and there's all different ways that you can find kids to sponsor. We have kids that share the same birthday as our kids, that kind of thing. But you can also kind of do a reverse of that right now and put your name in the hat, and a child chooses you to be their sponsor, which is kind of a cool thing.
Yeah, it's really cool. So you can do the traditional sponsorship route where you can choose a child to sponsor, or you can get your photo taken and put your photo and your spouse and your name, or whoever wants to do the sponsoring, your family, send it in, and then World Vision will have these choosing parties for these kids to be able to choose who they want to be their sponsor. And so that's just another fun way, another take on sponsorship that, and then you get something in the mail saying you have been chosen, and then your child has chosen you. And so it's pretty cool.
Yeah. So maybe sponsorship is like $39 a month. I don't know if I can do that right now. But there's an event that's coming up, the 6K, that's a little bit different and another way people can have an impact. So talk about why a 6K and what that's all about.
Yeah, so 6 kilometers is the average distance that a child walks for water. So we saw this in person when we were in Kenya. These children who just are little, I'm talking like 5 years old, walking through the desert by themselves, barefoot, with a jug to go find water. And so 6K is the average distance a child walks. We met people who walk a lot further than that, multiple times a day. But the idea is that each registration for the 6K that's coming up on May 16th is $50 for an adult. It's $25 for youth, thanks to a generous donor who's going to cover the other half of that cost for kids or people under 18. But $50 provides clean, lasting water for life. So that is sustainable water source. They put all of the money together from the 6K that we raise. And this is happening all over the globe. There's thousands of sites, thousands of people hosting these 6Ks. I'm just one host here in this area. But millions and millions of dollars will be raised for clean water. That is the goal. And so we'll be able to pool that money together to dig these deep boreholes and to have access for wells, that will be piped down to schools and communities so that these people can have access to clean water. And the child that is pictured on your race bib when you register is a child that you'll be providing clean water for because of your registration. So the idea is every step you take, every step of the 6K you take is one that they no longer have to take. Right. And when you can provide clean water for a child, they can go to school and they can just be a kid and do the things that kids love to do. When they're spending their days walking for water, they don't have time to do anything else. They don't have time for school, and they're exhausted and they're not healthy. So this truly is life-changing. If you can give somebody clean water, you can give them so much more.
Yeah. So the 6K is being done in a virtual way this year. We had it at Emory Adams last year.
Right.
Can't gather, obviously, so it's all being done virtually. There's still time to sign up, and we'll put the link in the comments probably by the end of the show.
And that's what I like about this is you can kind of do it your way.
Yep,
like
do it your way.
Last year, I sacrificed all my athleticism so that I would come in dead last and actually pick up signs on my way.
That's very giving.
That's what I wanted to do.
It's very giving of you.
It was a way to sacrifice, Dave. We appreciate you. We appreciate you.
So you sign up, you get a T-shirt, you get a medal, you get your race bib with the kid that you're going to be providing water for. That's all. That's just a really cool thing. And I think there's also a place if you don't want to do all that, you can just donate to it as well. Holly, if you would just text James the link when you get off, and then we'll put it in the comment section.
Excellent.
Yeah, definitely. Go online, register your friends, family. It's a great way to get outside, especially when the weather's nice. And if you can't do it on May 16th, you can do it anytime. Once you register, your race kit will arrive to you within just a few days, and you can do it at your own convenience, wherever you want, with whoever you want. But grab your friends, grab your family, grab your dog. Go for a walk, go for a run. Sometimes our kids ride their scooters or their bikes, which, doesn't give the full effect, but still, they're still going the distance. So I look forward to, hopefully seeing some more registrations come through, and then we'll do this together.
All right. Sounds great.
Holly, I appreciate your passion and the way that you support and the work that you put in with this organization. It is just awesome.
Thanks, Dave. Thanks, guys. Thanks for your support, and for for everyone who gives of their time and their treasures to invest in kids who they're likely never going to meet. But it makes a huge world of difference, and we're so grateful.
Absolutely. All right. Thanks, Holly.
I have a quick question that is not super important, but I've never asked anybody. When you're doing this, Holly, do you see just me, or do you see Dan and Dave on your end? Like, what are you looking at on your screen?
I am looking at James.
Just me? So
that's James.
I feel bad for all the guests, because all the guests have to sit there and look at just me while they talk to Dan and Dave. Okay, well, anyway.
And we can't see them.
Well, we can't see her really either. It's just the magic of the internet that makes it all happen.
Fair's fair, but it's too bad that they have to just watch me the whole time.
All right, thanks, Holly.
Bye, guys.
Bye. So World Vision. I mean, obviously, is something we've been really passionate about, but it is cool. It's a way that right now, in a time where it feels like, what can I do? Here's a thing. We can do for someone, and so. One of the questions I know is something we've talked about a little bit before. People will hear this say, that's all well and good, but what about kids here? What about kids in the U.S. There's kids in Finley that need help and all of those things.
Right. Well, like I said, I've been a part of mission trips for years. I've been on well over 50. And that's a common question, is like, what about the here? Yeah. Here's the reality about mission trips is it's not about going out and necessarily fixing the world.
Right.
Like we take a mission trip to Toronto we did last year. The exact same amount of homelessness is still in Toronto as when we came there. Mm-hmm. But we did make an impression on the lives of some people who are on the margins while we're there. But the biggest part of this and why this is so important is because if you look at the effect of a mission trip, when somebody remembers a moment that they were closest with Christ, or a conversion moment for them, oftentimes 10, 20, 30, 40 years later, it's a mission trip that they can reflect back on. That helps break your heart.
Oh, sure.
So that Jesus can come in, number one, but it's not a either or. It's not a kids here or there. It's a both.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've also done the global mission trips at Zambia, Bolivia, Mexico, some different places like that. And there's just something that Jesus does in your heart in some of these times that you can't replicate it in any other way when you take these trips. So my response to people when they question that is always, I go and do these things worldwide because Jesus said to.
Right.
That's Acts 1:8. Jerusalem, Judea, Samaria, and the ends of the earth. It's an and statement, not an or statement. You don't get to pick one or the other. It's you are called to your city, your region, the untouchables who the Samaritans were, the people that you aren't supposed to talk to. Like, go to them also, and then to the very ends of the earth. I mean, this is what Jesus commands us to do. And I also think about it, and the New Testament is just full of people who didn't just stay right where they were. They yes, you had the Stevens and this committee that they formed that, hey, we got to feed the people here in our community. That was the thing they did. And then what those apostles do? They went all over the world.
Right.
They went to India. I'm so glad the apostles didn't just stay in Jerusalem until everybody there was a Christian. I'm glad they went, because otherwise we're not here.
Yeah.
Otherwise we're just not. I'm glad Paul went to Rome. I'm glad that all of these things happen. I'm glad that John Wesley decided it was a good enough idea to come across the Atlantic Ocean to Georgia to witness to some people.
Exactly.
If that doesn't happen, we're not here. So I think, yes, there is so much value in doing things at home, but we're just called to go to other places as well.
And like we said, it's not an either or; it's a both.
Absolutely.
And I take people on a trip, and the number one thing I ask when it's all said and done is, what does this make you want to start, stop, or do differently
back home?
And what does this inspire you to do back home? I mean, we just spent a week with some homeless people who people walk over all day long as if they're not there. They don't get human interaction or attention. There are kids in your lunchroom.
Oh, sure.
Who are feel exactly the same and as dejected as they do, and it's been it's just eye opening. Yeah. And we've helped a lot with Special Olympics, and you have people who are generally ignored, made fun of, and you spend some time celebrating them, making them feel like king of the world. I mean, there's just nothing like giving of yourself, whether it's here in Findlay, Ohio, or it's in the Dominican Republic.
Yeah, yeah. And so I think the question is, all of that sounds well and good, but we're quarantined. So what can I do now? Like, what's that look like today? And that's really a part of what my struggle is right now. Is I want to be out being the hands and feet of Jesus, like I know that I'm called to do. And so what are some of the ways you've seen people help? And you mentioned people making masks, and that's a great thing to be able to do. I cannot sew. I am not a sewer person, but I'm so glad that there are people that can do those things and can help out people in that way. As a church, there have been some things that we've tried to do. We collected a bunch of we found out at Bluffton that there were some international students who were staying there who couldn't get home. And they're actually still there right now, not able to get back home. And so, but all right, how can we care for them? And so we collected just a ton of food in a really short amount of time, some toiletries. People were really, really generous. And that was a really awesome thing. And then, there have been some other ways we've seen people. Always love to see what Jack's doing at We Serve.
Oh, yeah.
The lunches of love and offering, every now and then you'll see free coffee for first responders or free coffee. It was free coffee for clergy the other day. Did you see that?
I did not know that. Jack.
I got mine.
Well, and I'm going to go back to sewing, and it doesn't have to do with sewing. I mean, I remember Jonna Richter, who's in our congregation. She worked with at the high school. It was called Dress a Girl, and they made dresses, like tons and tons of dresses. And it was really cool when we went down to the Dominican. We took like 180 dresses with us.
Awesome.
And she actually got to see that ministry come full circle.
Yeah.
But the point being is, it doesn't matter that it's sewing. It doesn't matter that it's whatever it is. It's taking what little you have and multiplying it.
Yeah.
And the best way that you can multiply it is to get others involved.
Yeah. I'd love to know if you're watching, to the tens of people who are watching, what are some of the creative ways that you've seen people serving others? I just think the more we share those things and that people can see them, I think that's really helpful. I know another thing that we've been doing is for our neighbor, if she needs groceries, she lives home by herself and just, hey, if she's had some health issues in the past, let us go take care of that for you, or, other things like that we're, any way we're able to help, we want to be able to do that. So did you have any other, I was trying to think of what are some of the other ways that we've seen people serving
during this time?
Yeah.
Here's a great way to serve. I've had so many people who've wanted to. I don't like the word shut in. I just don't.
Yeah.
But I like the word homebound. Who have been concerned about our homebound.
Yeah, that's a great example.
Like, hey, since you want to know about them,
here's a phone list.
Right. Here's a list. You can be a part of it.
Yeah.
You can send them cards. You can send them.
That's a huge one.
That's been a big one. And it doesn't even have to be homebound. What if you just decide to call 10 people from the church and, hey, I'm just thinking about you. And
because one of the things and we've talked about this in previous weeks is mental health issues are huge right now. And being able to just communicate with someone, just to give a call, just to say hi, can be huge. So you can't get together necessarily, but you can call them, just say, hey, I'm thinking of you, or, send them that letter, or, whatever it might be.
Or a video.
Or a video, yeah.
My nephew's missing out on his college graduation. So the whole family just sent him little videos and stuff. So, I mean, and my sister's first response, it was so great to see your face.
Yes. Yep, just to see your faces. Is awesome. Another way that you can serve, and this might not feel like serving because you're getting something out of it, but it's, again, small businesses, local restaurants. I mean, that really is an act of service to say, hey, we're thinking of you guys, and we want to, make sure that you're doing all right. And so, shopping there or getting some meals from there. Had Vivir tacos the other night for Cinco de Mayo.
Another good thing is
bueno.
Getting gift cards from local businesses, because if you think about it, you're just investing in a meal that you're going to have later.
Yeah, that's huge. Absolutely. So I think all those kind of things are just awesome. And I think another thing is just being kind when you are out in public, when you have to make that grocery store run, when you have to, go out for whatever reason, just being extra kind to people who are having to work and maybe scared, who have been dealing with really tense people all day in a tense situation. Just that act of kindness, I think, is missional, especially in this time.
Teaser for next week.
Yep.
Speaking of missional, we're going to have a guy on that. I don't know what it is about this story, but it just melts my heart. It just really does. But James is going to put a link in the comments. There's a guy down in Zanesville, and whether I'm not going to go too far into the story. You could just look. I encourage you to look at the link. Guy's name is, this is awesome, Billy Joe White.
Excellent.
How Appalachian is that? That is just awesome. And he lives in Appalachia, and he's trying to do something about to make things a better place. And there's so much wrapped up in his story about making the world a better place, about redemption, about all kinds of awesomeness. So I'm not going to go too far into the story because, number one, I won't do the video justice, but I'm really psyched about having him on next week. And, if you watch the video and you think of any questions that you'd like us to ask him, please put it in the comments, send us an email, send us a text.
Yeah, absolutely. So, couple things. Number one, this is my public service announcement to all of you. It's Mother's Day this Sunday. Don't forget. This is your reminder. Okay? So, do the Mother's Day things. You can't do brunch, so figure something else out to do. Look for Spark online video to be coming up. I don't know if it's up yet on YouTube or not for this week's, but Corinne's making videos every week for the kids, and they're great way to just grab the kids together and have a little Jesus moment in the middle of the week. And then again, join us 10:30 on Sunday mornings right here. And we love just having the chance to worship with you in that way. We miss you guys, but we'll keep doing this until we get to that point.
Yeah, absolutely.
James, anything else for the good of the order?
Hold on, I have to turn on all my stuff. No.
Turn on all my stuff.
All right. Well, guys, it's been great to be with you again.
Absolutely.
And thanks again to Holly for talking to us about World Vision. And thanks to James Adkins over there pushing all the buttons and pulling the wires and doing the black voodoo magic that makes the internet run.
Feeding the hamster that keeps my computer going.
Yes, all those things. Excellent. So until then, we'll see you guys this Sunday. So everybody have a great week.